See, I had this position about raising children to do as they're told, because you're not likely to be very clear about where you're going if every time you go to do something you're told, don't do that, do as you're told. Because the minute that child hits preschool or kindergarten, there's a whole flock of other people more than willing to tell them what to do, which may or may not be in their best interests. It kind of comes back to what we decide to achieve for our children when they're really little, because we get to set that tone. And if we want to make changes based on the patterns or the maps that we got, we can do it early.
As sad as it is, when a divorce or separation comes along, I always think it's one of the best things that ever happened to women who've been in the home, just like you just said. Because women blossom. Yeah, out of need to be able to put food on the table for their kids, they blossom, they develop psychologically, socially, in every aspect of life. They become awesome.
Well, and I think what happened for me is that my identity as who I was as Wanda was I'm a wife and a mother, I'm a housekeeper, and really very horribly, and you're going to cut this part out, underpaid, because there wasn't that much sex going on, please.
And don't forget the laundry,
and
I
didn't even, there wasn't enough money in the paycheck to give me an allowance, so I didn't even get an allowance. So I say, you're going to cut that one out, I know. But, you know, the thing...
I see a banner ad with that on it, Ron.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Underpaid, undersexed.
Undersexed, exactly. But I think the greatest thing that happened to me was when I discovered who I was as Wanda. And so now then, when I went into my second marriage, I was so clear about my boundaries that my poor husband, it took him a few times to let him know that he couldn't tell me what to do. I remember the time that he did that to me, and we're sort of girl talking here, but I started to do something, he said, Wanda, you can't, stop that. And I looked at him, and I said, we'll talk about this later. We got in the car, and I looked at him, and I said, I had one father, I don't need another, and if this marriage is going down that road, and that's what you want, I'm bailing out, because I'm not your gal. And he cut it out, and he never did it again. But I'll tell you what, I discovered those boundaries that I talked about made all the difference in the world, and that's
And it's not about keeping yourself in, it's about setting standards that say, I deserve to be treated this way, respected this way, because I respect myself.
Exactly.
That's the self-full woman.
Yeah.
Can I take that a step further, Meryl,
Please do.
too? Because it's not just those are my boundaries and I won't allow that.
No.
But rather, those are my boundaries and I don't need to be responsible for yours.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
Absolutely.
great. Exactly.
Too often women grow up in parameters, as they have for how many generations, where we're responsible for everybody else. We're responsible to make everybody happy, to have the home flow, to have the social agenda, to take care of the finances, whether we're allowed to spend anything or not.
Yeah.
We're taught that we're responsible and rise above and be bigger than and be accountable and responsible
And
for
it'll be
everybody
my
else.
turn when everyone else's needs have been addressed.
If and when.
If and when, which means it's never land.
Right. So this way, women get to say, not only those are my boundaries, I'm not willing to allow you to tell me what, when, where to do, but also I'm not responsible for how you do what, when, where you do. We're two whole human beings, and so we can walk down a path together and thoroughly enjoy the path together, but we're not accountable and responsible for each other, which in effect is boundaries from the outside in as opposed to inside out, and we have to maneuver both those. Right? I mean, often even as women, we often find that we feel responsible for another woman to, you know, if they're going through a difficult time. And where's that boundary between providing support, being a shoulder to lean on, as opposed to rescuing, right? And being able to ascertain where those effective boundaries are is really, really important. Right? A lot of people can maneuver those boundaries very subtly to maneuver in and out and around and not even realize what they're doing necessarily, right? But we come back if we're clear. We know where we're going.
Well, and the interesting thing is that those boundaries shift depending on the other personalities involved. What might be the ideal support for me to offer my sister or my sister to offer me in any sort of family crisis situation would be totally inappropriate to if it were extended to somebody that I didn't know very well. So then I'd be rescuing.
Yeah.
Women, they come from a wide variety of backgrounds, and in most cases, they've gone through heartaches, abuse, whether it's verbal or psychological or racism or physical. And sometimes it's abuse and it's like sort of okay, it used to be considered okay in some corporate worlds or in some cultures, right? And what this translates to is really it's the ability to sort of flip it around and to come to the realization that once you actually turn it around, you can actually transform this into basically strong skills in having that natural entrepreneurship. You guys are natural entrepreneur, women are natural entrepreneur, but often because they have been told when they're young that they're not capable, and women never achieve this or whatever, whether it's a grandma or a mother or a father or somebody who's close or a teacher. Sometimes what you're told when you're young, it's psychologically anchored in your mind, and that actually inhibits you from achieving what you can achieve. So once you come to that realization that yes, you can do it, this is where you establish the clarity that Dr. Holly is talking about. You build that vision and unshakable belief in achieving those goals, and do it.